Okay, here's the Duotone clip bar. I've had to take parts out of this one. I've made a bit of a mess of the lines, so I figured I might as well do a bit of a take it apart and put it back together video and make sure it's done correctly. So we'll start off, we'll take all our lines out and we'll lay them out. Now we took this one apart because we had to take some parts out of it for the customer's bar. So it's been put together, but it was only put together in my lounge room, so we're going to take it back apart and check it's right. Once we've laid out all the lines, you can see it's all how it's supposed to be. We're going to undo the ends of it, check on the mechanics in this inside. Okay, so there's a few ways of doing this. Generally I like to take out, nearly taking it all apart straight away. Taking the end off of it here. Watch you don't lose the little spring. Turn that right around, going for these two little Allen keys underneath here. The standard FCS fin key we're using here. The clip bar comes with an Allen key to do this otherwise. Now you can't take these right out, you can only undo them as far as before they hit the little bit of rubber or plastic on here. Then you got to go the other side. See? It slowly comes off. If I was to take off these two here, I could take the top off first and then undo them all the way. It's generally not necessary. You got to watch you don't lose these two little screws just inside there. They can quite easily drop out. If you flick that back round to normal when you got it on the side, they can't fall out. Put that down next to the other part. In here's our winder. So I'm going to unwind all together so you can have a good look at it. And you'll notice the blue line is on the bottom and the red line is on the top. It's important you remember that. It's the main thing that people get wrong. That way when it all feeds into the click mechanism inside, it's all the correct way. Nice and neat in there. I'm going to take this apart all together and check to see it's all nice and clean. Now you see how that's quite hard to do? If we catch hold the mechanical side of it, you can undo it quite easily. Acts like a little spanner to help you do it. Okay, you can see there we've got the little parts all taken apart on the bottom. We're going to start off putting it back together. We've got the bottom one and the top one. We're going to put the bottom one on first. Get it to thread onto there. Feed it down inside. If you use the thread, you can sort of pull it down into that groove quite easily. Like so. Here we've got a little spacer. You can see it's got like a little lug on the bottom of it. That goes opposite your piece of string. And that goes down onto there as well, nice and neatly. Try to get it pretty even so it's not bent or out of shape. Opposite side now. Once again, screw it in, pull it down. You see it fits in there pretty neatly again. All right through. Now this here is recessed, so it goes into each of those. Clicks together nice and neat. We start doing it up. So you can see I've taken that all apart, put it back together. Blue line at the top. Sorry, blue line at the bottom, this way up. Red line at the top. Nearly confused myself there. Okay. If you want to service it or clean it, if that gets full of sand, it's pretty rare for that to happen. But if you take it apart because you're replacing parts, pretty handy to know how it goes back together. Clips down inside there quite easily. Pull those lines tight and make sure they're not catching on anything. Now, if you sit one and it's sitting on top of a screw, you're going to damage it. Seems pretty obvious, but people seem to do it. Okay. If I was replacing the leader lines off of here, when I had it apart, I'd have pulled them right through from this end and then pulled them back through to reattach them. Okay, like so. We're going to grab the top plate now. First thing I do, click it around so I can see. The lug goes at the top here. Making certain that is sitting in there nice and neat. Okay, just putting that together so it all sits nice and neat as we put it in. There's a couple of different ways of doing this. This is probably my preferred one because you can put the whole little mechanics together. You just got to watch that when you put it in there, these lines aren't catching on anything. Everything's free and clear. Got the little sliders, got to fit in the right spots. Got to not kink your leader lines at all. Make certain they're not catching. And again, you sort of got to do it up bit by bit. You could take the whole top off of it and take it right apart to undo the other two little screws as well. It's generally not necessary unless you've filled that up with sand or something or haven't put it back together properly. You get it here, you've got to make certain that it's sort of locating and that this is bedding in properly without catching on anything. You can see even without doing up the screws there, it's all sitting in there nice and neat, it's not catching on anything at all. The lines are all in the right spot, nothing's jamming up at all. Carry on doing these up. So generally you don't have to do this. I only had to do this because I had to take parts out of this one to fix on another bar which somebody had broken. So I'm putting it back together. I do have guys who take this apart semi-regularly and they squirt this all with a bit of silicone spray in there. Myself, I haven't found that necessary, but at least you can see how to do it if you want it. You can get into the bar. You can get in there quite easily. Give it a bit of rinse out with fresh water, a little squirt if you want to put something in there. You get here, you want to check that they feel good and tight and that you actually, when you wind them up, they move evenly. You've got to make certain you keep a bit of pressure on them. If the weird little wheel does up without any pressure on it, the lines will be all loose and not biting properly in there. You can see that doing up pretty easy. Good to have a handy assistant. Now I want to release it. Working perfectly. Wind her back up to the standard setting. Good to go.